Hello, and welcome to my vlog. I am soon to be Dr. Demedia Edwards, and I'm submitting this project and requirements for my ethical leadership final course at Baylor University. I chose to do a vlog because I believe that this is a way for me to show my thinking and my thought process as I'm working through an ethical dilemma. The name of my blog is Leading with My Head and My Heart. Thank you for joining, and I hope that you find this to be beneficial to you in your work, in leading organizations and change. So welcome to part one of my vlog, my video blog, Leading with My Head and My Heart. So I want you to listen. I'm going to be quiet for a second. I want you to just listen to what's happening around me right now. Do you hear that? It's the sound of peace and quiet. It's one of those rare moments when I have to be alone at home. And it's during these times that I find my best thinking occurs. So as I start to think through this ethical dilemma, I want you to join me on this journey. And I hope that you find this to be meaningful and impactful to you as you are encountering your own ethical dilemmas. And I hope that my reflections and thoughts push you to consider what is ethical and how you evolve in that direction. So I have to share with you a book that has been so incredibly inspirational to me. It is called Leading from Within, and it is poetry that sustains the courage to lead. And I'm looking at this section of the book right here called Defining Moments. And man, I am having a lot of ahas. As I strive to be an ethical leader, I think it's in those moments that we make the biggest impact. It's not one or two decisions. It's moment after moment, day after day, in which we show up, in which we lead bravely, and we lead with our ethics at the forefront. So this book has really got me thinking about the ethical dilemma that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And my definition of ethical dilemma is one in which there is no easy solution. The impact of the dilemma will be widespread. It will affect many people's lives, and these are decisions that we can't take lightly. My ethical dilemma involves a real problem in the context of my current role as a director of literacy. So I'm going to unpack the dilemma and share with you what the dilemma is and who it impacts. And this first section is really just going to talk through and help me think through aloud in this vlog the dilemma that I'm facing and the choices that are ahead of me. So for this project and for my current professional context I'm in charge of implementing the House Bill 3 Reading Academies. And we know that has been a tremendous lift here in the state of Texas, in that it requires a tremendous amount of work, independent, self-guided work on the part of our teachers and campus leaders, etc. We implemented this work during the pandemic, and so we found that teachers were really struggling to meet the demands of their current work situations, meaning learning to be online instructors and the demands that came along with the pandemic. We were all living in a very uncertain time. And during that time, we began to implement these House Bill 3 requirements of the Reading Academy. We quickly found that there were some really tough challenges that our people were facing. Challenges such as balancing work-home life and personal illness and COVID-related illnesses, etc. And because of that, we struggled with the decision to make about how to continue that work, because on one hand we knew it's incredibly impactful learning for our teachers. We needed them to get this information so that they could be stronger practitioners in the classroom. But we also had to balance that with the fact that people had very pressing needs at the time. The result of that was that we decided to give our participants an opportunity to opt out of the first year with no penalty, and they could then come back and re-enroll in year 2, which is where we are now. Our dilemma now is that as our participants are in year 2 of the Reading Academy implementation, and many of them are not successfully progressing through the Reading Academies, it's now necessary for us to determine what would be the best course of action so that we can A, be fiscally responsible to our school district and our students and the resources that we're given, and while balancing the needs of our teachers as they are making tough decisions and trying to do the very best that they can in their current roles. So that's a little context about the ethical dilemma. And again, it fits my own personal definition of an ethical dilemma because A, there is no simple answer, and B, it has the potential to impact a very big group of stakeholders. And finally, it's a challenge. It's one that will require some deep thinking and some pro and con weighing and all of those things. And so the next section of the vlog, is going to involve me thinking through what those choices are and weighing those pros and cons, and also introducing the literature that supports those decisions. So welcome back to my vlog. The first section of this time together, I spent just really thinking through the ethical dilemma that was at hand and defining an ethical dilemma as a situation in which there is no simple answer, a right or wrong answer. There are multiple courses of action that impact lots of stakeholders. And I take that very seriously, and that is something that is weighing heavy on me as I continue to think through the best course of action. There's so many stakeholders that will be impacted by this decision, both at the district level, the chief academic officer and other staff, as well as the actual teachers. And it even has some implications on principals and students, because depending on which decision is made, we may find that there are people that are not in agreement with that and may decide to go be employed elsewhere. So my question is that I'm considering is, as we are going into the next year, and we've given our participants an opportunity to opt out, and so we have this group of 75 people that are in year 2, do we then pay for a 3rd year for their participation at the cost of $1,000 per person, or do we require the employee to secure the training and on their own at our local Region 4 service center and at their own expense? And moreover, is it ethical to require someone to pay for something that is a requirement of their employment? So the ethical actors in this instance is myself. I am the person who is really ultimately going to make the decision that will impact a lot of different stakeholders. And again, that's something that I don't take lightly. So in this segment, I'm going to weigh the pros and cons and dig into how this impacts our employees. So I'm reminded to go back to my book, Leading from Within, and looking at a different section in this book has really got me thinking about just that, those ideas of pros and cons. And so the section is called The Real Bottom Line. And so it prompts me to think about outcomes and looking at each outcome individually, and again, weighing those pros and cons. What are the upsides and downsides of each of those choices, and how does that ultimately impact the decision that's made? So the first option, of course, is that we would offer a 3rd year to our teachers that needed a 3rd year to be in the cohort. The challenge in there, the pros, let's start there. There's so many things. One of the pros, of course, is that it gives our employees an opportunity to engage for a 3rd year. It also alleviates the burden that they may face with trying to find and secure funding for the cohort. Another pro or positive to this is that it builds stronger connectivity between the district and our employees by showing that we are listening and that we are responsive. Another pro is that it does give our people an opportunity to secure this really important training while remaining employed in the district, because we know in these challenging times that we have seen many employees resign and leave, and we can't afford to continue to lose good teachers. The cons to that particular option are that, first of all, the district is going to be incurring another expense of $1,000 per person for participation in the cohort. We know that financially, our funds, we have to be fiscally responsible with the funding that we're given, and we know that that is quite an expense of $75,000 in allowing them to participate a third year, and that's hard to think about that. Another con is that, are we sending the wrong message to the participants that completed it during year one, or even took advantage of the second year opportunity that all of them have had? Are we sending them the message that that what we set forth as policy is subject to change, or are we giving them the impression that mandates or requirements are optional, and that there are opt-in opportunities and opt-out opportunities at every turn? And that one, I struggle with that one. And then, of course, finally another con is having these individuals participate in a third year of the academy very deeply limits the amount of other individuals that we're able to offer the opportunity to. Welcome back to my vlog, Leading with My Head and My Heart. So in the last couple of sections, I've really been thinking through the two options that are before me and weighing the pros and cons. But ultimately, what I will use to help me make the decision is an article, or two sources actually. David Hollins has an article that's titled Ethical Decision Making for School Leaders. And I read this first part and it just hit me in the face, not literally, but figuratively, when it said that school managers or leaders need to ensure that their decisions and actions live up to their shared values. And when I read that, I was immediately prompted to think about my district's strategic priorities. And one of those strategic priorities is organizational efficiency and financial responsibility. And so when I ground my thinking in our district's mission and values and the stated beliefs that we have that are shared across our system, I know that the best decision is that we would continue, that after this year, we would not be able to afford a third opportunity to those participants who did not complete during year 1 or 2. Because first of all, financially, we want to be fiscally responsible with the funding that we're receiving. And we want to use said funding in ways that really support and benefit our students, that align to our strategic priorities, and that help our system to stay strong and healthy. I also look at the ethics for school leaders that the National Association of Secondary School Principals has put out. And these guiding principles really speak to ethical and fiscal responsibility as well. And so, although not necessarily a popular opinion or decision, this is the decision that I believe is really, truly in the best interest of our stakeholders. Whew. So what now? I'm reflecting on the decision, and in doing so, I can't help but to think through what the possible implications of the decision will be. How will this decision land on our teachers that are impacted directly by it? How will this impact our principals who may lose teachers because of this? What effect will it have on morale across the district now that we're going to be saying to folks that they have to seek outside opportunities after this year? A lot of that remains to be seen, but I hope that you will continue to watch my vlog as I continue to think through where the implications will be, the biggest impacts will happen, and as I speak to a participant and have their reactions to this decision.
Hello and welcome back to the final installment of my video blog, or my vlog, Leading with My Head and My Heart. So it's been a few days since I wrapped filming for the vlog, and I've had some time to really just think deeply and reflect on the decision that I made, and also to come back to the initial dilemma and to really ask myself, have I created a solution or come up with a solution that allows me to continue living within my values while also navigating the complexity of the situation? So I started the blog with when I was at home, and it was such an incredibly beautiful day, and I was listening to the sounds and I was enjoying the peace and quiet. And so similarly today, I am here, arrived earlier at a conference here in San Diego, and as I'm looking at these beautiful views of the bay, I am also in a very quiet and reflective space. And so I wished that I was able to do an interview with one of my participants and be able to bring in their perspective, but unfortunately that didn't come to pass. What I can tell you about my decision is that I believe that the decision that I made does value my own ethical beliefs. I believe that it honors the work that is happening and the prioritizing of said work. I believe that it also gives another level of financial responsibility. It allows me to continue to live into that value that I've placed, or that has been placed on me in this role. And I also believe that it gives us opportunities to continue open dialogue and conversations with our participants, because although we've set this expectation that our participants must finish or they will have to incur the cost, we've also left the door open, so to speak, to be able to have conversations with people that may be struggling to finish, so that we can work one-on-one to put in some action plans and really think about what supports we can provide to help them during this final push. I enjoyed this process. It was, I think, because of the nature of school leadership, we make decisions, so many decisions in such a fast-paced world, that we don't often stop and just really reflect and take, or not even reflect, but just take the time to think through our thought processes as we're making these decisions. And we're making them in a way that's proactive as opposed to reactive. And I've also enjoyed the opportunity to just reflect and to be intentional about what I was reading to guide my thinking, and thinking really deeply about the implications of the decision on people, various stakeholders. It was a great process. Thank you again for engaging with my vlog. I hope that you have been able to understand my thoughts and understand the process that I undertook to arrive at my decision. I hope that it helps you as you think about your own ethical dilemmas that you may encounter in your own current context. Thank you again.